Hey guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon. Good morning or good day to you wherever you happen to be. It is Falcon Heavy launch day. I'm super excited. We haven't had one of these in a few years here now. I think it was like 2019 or something since the last time we saw a Falcon Heavy launch. So this is only the fourth Falcon Heavy launch ever. So we've only had 3 prior Falcon Heavy launches. So this, of course, is an exciting day to see some Falcon Heavy, some side cores and a center core, which is going to be expended today. But anyways, we got some big rocket action here today. This will be fun. Full disclosure up front, probably a lot of you are not going to like this, but this is a U.S. Space Force mission, and as such, it is very, very classified and top secret. So there is a lot that we don't know today, and we will not know ever, and unless you got some secret connections that maybe you probably shouldn't tell people about. But yeah, this is we're not going to know a whole lot. What we do know today is obviously this is a, like we said, Falcon Heavy mission. Side core boosters are going to land. We'll have a double booster landing again, of course. That's should be awesome. Center core will be expended. There's no plan to recover that. And the reason for that is because this mission is going direct to geosynchronous Earth orbit. First time that SpaceX has gone direct to geosynchronous orbit. And they're going to need all the fuel they can get and all the performance they can get out of the vehicle to get out there. They're going to have a very, very long coast phase. Like 6+ hours in order to get to the target orbit, and then they will circularize way out there in geosynchronous orbit, and we will see none of that. We are expecting that because of the classified nature of this mission that we'll see side core booster landing, the double booster landing, and then that'll probably be it. They'll probably cut it off and be like, thanks for joining us and goodbye. And that's probably all we'll see. The actual, I don't even know if we'll see main engine cutoff. Maybe we'll see main engine cutoff. I would expect that, I'd like to think that we'd see main engine cutoff. We're probably not going to see like fairing deployment. You know, they're not going to show us what's in there. We don't even really know how many satellites are on board. Obviously, we definitely know that there are at least 2. But there could be others that they just haven't told us about, you know, other small satellites. So we have this one big satellite on board, one smaller one, and that's all we know, really. So yeah, it's a very, very secretive mission, but it'll still be fun. Still be fun to watch. So thanks for jumping in and joining us here today. We'll check out the chat here in just a minute, but I do want to tell you before SpaceX goes live. We're not expecting them to go live here for probably another half an hour. They are go for propellant loading, so they've started loading the rocket grade kerosene and liquid oxygen into the first stage of the vehicle. So they're gonna give it a try today, which is good. So they're on target. Weather is looking good, although there is some morning fog that's down there at Cape Canaveral right now that they're waiting to burn off. And as of right now, the weather still goes. So they're expecting that morning fog to burn off, should hopefully not be that big of a deal. Fog will burn off and we'll be good to go. Because our weather today, other than the fog, is actually looking pretty good. So if we take a look at our weather here today, we've actually got a 10% chance of violating the launch constraints. Our main concern is our cumulus cloud rule, although I think we're actually in pretty good shape for cumulus cloud rule right now. Upper level wind shear is pretty low risk, solar activity pretty low risk, and that's all we got really for weather. So it's looking pretty good. And if we look over, we'll even look over here at our map. We can see our ground level winds here, 5 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour. They're pretty low right now. We look at our upper level winds at 67 miles per hour. For all our non-American friends, what is that? That's 110 kilometers per hour. Or where's our knots? 60 knots, which sounds like a lot, but for upper level winds, that's pretty normal. You can actually see this is not even the highest of it. If you go up here, you see 130 mile an hour upper level winds. This is where our jet stream is going here right now. But yeah, once you get even 100 mile an hour upper level winds, not usually a huge concern for some of the SpaceX launches. It's usually once you start getting into like the 140 mile an hour range. Also, you gotta keep in mind that it's not just the speed, it's the direction as well. So it's both change in speed and change in direction that gives us that wind shear risk. So this morning, it's looking pretty good for our winds. If we look at our cloud cover, let's look at our satellite image. I mean, you can see we've got some clouds in the area, but nothing really hugely concerning right now. Nothing on the radar. A couple of storms out here. But remember, we just need a small hole that we have to punch through, and then we're up on top of the weather, and we're good to go. So really, it's right over, within just a couple miles of the launch site that they're really evaluating kind of that cumulus cloud rule and our weather and things like that, just so they can get up and over the weather. So weather's looking good, other than obviously we've got that fog. So here it is, our beautiful Falcon Heavy for the U.S. Space Force 44 mission. This is also the first operational mission for Falcon Heavy, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, and a national security payload. So they did do a national security kind of test mission before. This is like the first official operational mission for national security payloads for Falcon Heavy. So Falcon Heavy still going strong. So we got a list of our timeline of events here, which you'll also see on the left side of our screen as we count down to launch. It's a little bit different than Falcon 9, right? So we've got a whole bunch of first stage cores there. We got our booster cores, we got our main center core. They get loaded at different rates than the Falcon 9. The Falcon 9, the regular Falcon 9, right? They start loading both first and second stage at the same time. This one, they kind of stagger them a little bit. So we'll count down as you get closer to launch. Like within about 10 minutes, the countdown gets to be very similar to Falcon 9, and they're just minor differences, anyways. So anyways, we've got our launch. We'll go through our max Q. We'll get booster separation. Booster cores come back and land at the landing zones. So we'll get a boost back burn, entry burn, and a landing burn. We'll get center core will continue on. So normally, like with a Falcon 9, we get first and second stage separation, right around 2 to 3 minutes or so. This is actually the first stage, the second stage is going to separate around like 4 minutes. So it goes on for quite a while. And then the center core will be expended, not going to be recovered. Boosters, like I said, they're going to land at the landing zones. And then the second stage, the upper stage, will continue on for hours to get out to geostationary or geosynchronous Earth orbit. And we're probably not going to see any of that today. So, and more evidence towards that, the actual launch timeline that SpaceX has published here, let me get rid of my timeline here, ends at booster landing. They're not even giving us the actual second stage cutoff time, which is unusual. Not surprising given the highly classified nature of this mission, but they're not even telling us when the second stage burn is going to end, that initial second stage burn is going to end, because they're keeping everything very secret. They don't want us to know where it's going, exactly where it's going, or really exactly what's on board. So yeah, the timeline ends at booster landing, and I expect that's when the broadcast will end as well. So that's our plan for today's mission, and highly classified, top secret mission. But let's see what's happening with you guys here. Let's check in with the chat and say hello to some people. We're expecting SpaceX to go live here in probably another 15 minutes or so. 15 or 20 minutes, I think they'll go live. So we'll hang out and wait for them. Let's see. Patricia over on Facebook has seen 13 launches, she said. That was during our little opening sequence there. Lynn, hello from the UK. Nice to see you again from the UK. Let's see who else is checking in. Redis Knight was back at KSC back in 1999. We're gonna get you back there. 1999 is a while ago. There's a bunch of new stuff there now. Go check it out. Sharon is watching from Titusville, right across the water there. Lots of fog, she says. Well, hopefully that'll all burn off here as the sun comes up. Get rid of some of that morning fog. I'd like to think that we'll be okay. I've seen some pictures. I definitely saw some fog, but it seemed like maybe it might be getting better. I don't know. It's hard to tell, especially since I'm not there in person. Side booster and center core. Yep, we've got side booster and center core, but only the side boosters will actually land. The center core is going to be expended. Why no center core reuse this time? Doesn't it usually land on the drone ship? Yes, so normally the center core, they landed on the drone ship, but this is their first mission to go direct to geostationary orbit. So normally they would, in most, SpaceX launches geostationary satellites all the time. Normally, they launch it into a geostationary transfer orbit, which is a very long elliptical oval shape where the near part of the oval is close to Earth and the far part of the oval is at where the geostationary orbit would be. And then when they kind of deploy the satellite close to Earth and just let it coast itself out there. And then when the satellite gets out to geostationary orbit, the satellite itself will use its own onboard propulsion to circularize it and keep itself all the way out there in geostationary orbit. In this case, this is a direct to geostationary orbit for Falcon Heavy. So Falcon Heavy is going to drop off the payload in geostationary orbit so that the satellite doesn't have to use any of its onboard propulsion to do that itself. The satellite can kind of keep any onboard propulsion that it may or may not have. I'm sure it has something, but we don't know anything about it. So yeah, it's going to conserve all of its. The satellite will conserve everything that it has, and Falcon Heavy will do all the heavy work of getting it to geostationary orbit. So because of that, they need all the performance of the center core to get it out there and save some of that second stage fuel for that geostationary burn. And yeah, because of that, the center core is going to be expended, and they just don't have enough. They're not going to have enough fuel reserved to actually do an entry burn and a landing burn, right? Remember, we need fuel to do the entry burn, slow it down so it doesn't just disintegrate in the atmosphere as it comes back, and then you would need some fuel to actually do a landing burn. And they're not going to have that because they need the fuel to get it to geostationary orbit. So no fuel means no recovery, and yeah, it'll just smash into the ocean into pieces. So let's see. Happy late Halloween to everybody. Oh yeah, right, forgot Halloween was yesterday. Hope everybody had a good Halloween. Will the center core, here you go, will the center core deorbitate? Deorbitate, right, yeah, it will. It's gonna deorbit. Yeah, exactly, it's going to, the center, it's not really gonna deorbit. It's gonna deorbit. Because it's not going into orbit in the first place. It's gonna be in a ballistic trajectory, meaning, you know, it's kind of like throwing a baseball, right? It's going up, and then gravity's gonna pull it back down. It never really gets to... It's gonna deorbit. Right, it never really gets to orbit in the first place. But at least we know that it's going to be destroyed. We don't have to worry about our friendly space lobster ruining everything.
Space lobster ate the T-Tab. That's the answer.
You're right. So space lobster can have all the T-Tab that it wants.
Space lobster ate the T-Tab. That's the answer.
Yep, it's can have all the T-Tab it wants because we're not going to recover the center core. If you recall, just to give you a little What's with the Falcon Heavy being so out of time? It's daylight at Kennedy at this point. Well, it's just a picture. So this is the somebody's asking why my picture of Falcon Heavy is at night. This is just a picture. This is the SpaceX website here. So it's not a live shot of Falcon Heavy. SpaceX has not published a live shot, so I don't have a live shot of Falcon Heavy right now. But yeah, that's just there for the aesthetic so that you know what we're launching today. Anyways, just to give you a history lesson, I know you're all interested in this, but our friend that if you haven't been with the channel for very long, you'll always notice we get our little lobster friend that pops up here when people subscribe. I should mention some of the super chats that came through. We had some super chats come through from Lim, one of our 25-month channel members, said long time no see. Thanks for jumping in here, Lim. Let's see, Fire Alarm Man 2023 says, I'm back. Also a channel member for the last 2 months. And Fire Alarm Man 2023 sent another super sticker as well. Thanks, guys, for the support. So really appreciate that. But when you see any of those super chats that come through, you'll see our little friendly lobster that pops up here. You'll see our little subscribed lobster that pops up here occasionally. But anyways, the lobster came from our very first Falcon Heavy launch. So sometimes people jump in the channel, they don't really know the history. They're like, why are we talking about space and there's a random lobster popping up into the frame every couple of minutes? Well, the reason for that is because of Falcon Heavy. They, way back in, 2018? One of my first live broadcasts doing Falcon Heavy, we were, if you recall, side core boosters landed. Center core was very mysterious. Like, it came down and then they cut away from it and they were like, all right, well, and we'll continue on with the mission. And they never told us what happened to the center core. There was a lot of speculation, like, did it happen? Did it land? Did it not land? What is it in one piece? Was it destroyed? And so we streamed for like hours trying to figure out what was happening with the center core. And in the middle of that, things were getting very quiet. Music. Oh, hey, there's our lobster now. There he is. So see, that's our space lobster. Yeah. Anyway, so we were kind of just chatting, and things were getting kind of quiet. It was getting towards, I don't know, it was like midstream. We had a ton of people on. Had like 200,000 people watching. It was getting real quiet. It was very just a calming stream, trying to figure out we were looking at some of the news, some of the Twitter feed, and all of a sudden one of my browser windows went, Lobster Fest is on! Because I had a website open and a Red Lobster advertisement started playing, and it was like way louder than that one. I can't even turn my volume. I don't even know how it was so loud, but I had the advertisement for Red Lobster play. Lobster Fest is on! And it was super embarrassing. We had like 200,000 people, and everybody thought that everybody's laughing. We started talking about space, it's the space lobster. That's what happened to the center core. And then people started tweeting about it. People started tweeting me pictures with my head on a lobster on a Falcon Heavy. People on Twitter started thinking that somehow space lobster was like an official, like an unofficial, official, like moniker for the red Tesla that was being launched, and so people started retweeting it without even knowing what the Lobster Fest is on, that this even happened, and it got out of control. And then during like the ABC News launch, the news broadcast for the press conference afterwards, people were spamming the chat with space lobster comments and everything. It got a little bit out of control, and that's where space lobster came from.
Space lobster ate the T-Teb. That's the answer.
So that's the answer. But anyways, I know you all wanted that history lesson there. So, where is it launching from? Well, it's launching from the only place that Falcon Heavy can launch from. Let's go back into... we'll go back and take a look at what our trajectory is here for today. So, whose comment was that? Somebody said, where is it launching from? What are you drinking now? Says, is the trajectory east or northeast of the launch pad? Yeah, so here we go. We'll show you Here, let me move myself here out of the way. Here's our trajectory here for today. So, only place that Falcon Heavy can launch from is launch pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. That's the big historic launch pad. They launched Apollo from there, Space Shuttle from there. That's where Crew Dragon launches from. It's their big launch pad at Kennedy Space Center. SpaceX has another one. It's this one down here. This is launch pad 41. That's a smaller one. Only Falcon 9 can launch from there. Crew Dragon, Falcon Heavy, all got to launch from 39A up here. So it's launched from 39A. It's going mostly east, right? It's trying to get to that geostationary orbit, so it's mostly going east here. We're gonna have our initial burn here. Then we get our booster separation and cutoff, and they kind of come back like this. This is kind of interesting. We don't really talk about this enough because we don't have a lot of return to launch site landings. But just to give you an idea, a lot of people think that like when the booster separates that it immediately starts coming back down, but it's a ballistic trajectory, right? It's like throwing a baseball up, and then it separates. It's still got some momentum and going up a little bit. So actually what's going to happen is you get this little bit of a loop here, and you get booster separation. After separation, they still continue to go up a little bit. They'll start that boost back burn to null out their trajectory that way and start heading back this way. Meanwhile, they continue to go up, right? They don't really need to null out the vertical trajectory, right? Gravity's going to do that for us. So they just need to use their fuel to stop going that way and come back this way. And meanwhile, they continue to go up. Then we get apogee. The highest point of the booster trajectory there is actually on the way back, right up here at the top. And then they start coming back down. We get our entry burn, and then our landing zones are just a little bit to the south of the launch pad here. Those are those green dots there. So we get, here's a top-down view, right? So they kind of push back towards the side a little bit. But this side view I always find interesting because people forget that it continues to go up after separation. So let's see. Oh, so one of my moderators just sent me, said random synchronicity. Today's astronomy picture of the day is of NGC 6357, which is the Lobster Nebula. Is that right? Is that for today's astronomy picture of the day is the Lobster Nebula? Get out of here. That's pretty funny, actually.
Space Lobster ate the T-Teb. That's the answer.
So everybody go look up NASA's astronomy picture of the day. I should do that for us. NASA's astronomy picture of the day. Yep, there it is. I mean, I don't know why I doubted you, but the astronomy picture of the day. I don't know how that is quite the coincidence. The astronomy picture of the day is the Lobster Nebula.
Lobster Fest is on.
That's perfect. That's kind of awesome. That was from Justin Gibb. So Justin, thanks for pointing that out. That is fantastic. That's crazy. All right. Well, let's see. William Pellner, another 25-month channel member, says it's a great day for a launch. Let's go. I agree. This will be awesome. I'm excited for this. Jay Cowan sent over a super chat. Thanks, Jay, for the support there. Is Artemis still scheduled to launch on November 14th? And do we have a date for SpaceX Starship launch? I would not say November 14th is set in stone by any means. I'm going to just say mid-November is what Artemis is targeting right now. I think we got to wait until we get a little bit closer to figure out what the actual launch date is going to be. But yeah, mid-November is still what we're targeting for Artemis. And then as far as SpaceX Starship, the latest rumor here is a possible Starship launch in December. That is the latest from the rumor mill, and we'll see if that pans out. So let's see. All right, so I'm just reading through some of the comments from Justin's, Justin pointing out the astronomy picture of the day. That's crazy. All right, so back to our trajectory here. So yeah, so we've got our boosters there. Center core will continue on, and then you can actually see, here's our center core cutoff right here. Way back here. A lot of people also don't realize how short the engines burn for, right? It's like they only burn, the first stage is from here to here. That's it. And then we've got the second stage that continues on. Center core, we got a hazard out here. That's where the center core is gonna splash down and be destroyed way out here in the middle of the ocean. Then the second stage burns until roughly here. We don't really know for sure. And then, yeah, that's roughly our trajectory. Then we're gonna get another burn, expect another burn out here somewhere, and then it continues out to geostationary orbit in a long coast, and we'll never know anything more. So, can I see it from France? No, you're not gonna see it from France. France is way up here. Trajectory's way down here. What else we got? This might be an indication. I think people are still talking about the Lobster Nebula. It might be an indication that we'll actually get a launch today. We should get a launch today, specifically because of that. If somebody could send a memo and just let them know that, like, it's meant to be. Lobster Nebula, Falcon Heavy, let's do it.
Lobster Fest is on.
Did they camera up the center core so we can see the live splashdown? No, I don't think they're gonna show us the live splashdown. I think the broadcast is gonna end before. I don't even know. I don't know if we'll get. Well, we should get to separation. I think. Yeah, we'll definitely get to separation. Because we're gonna get. We're definitely. I expect that the broadcast will go all the way to side booster landing, and then the center core would be a few minutes later, but I don't think they're going to show us that at all. So I would love to be wrong, but I'm not expecting anything from the center core whatsoever. 2 burn backs and 1 is going to take a swim. Yep, we got the 2 side boosters are going to do a boost back burn, land at the landing zones. We'll get that. Hopefully, get those amazing shots of the double booster landing. Love that. What's the payload? Great question. I don't know. Nobody knows. So again, this is, we've kind of mentioned this a couple times. This is a very, very top secret, highly classified mission. We don't really know exactly what's on board. We know that there are at least 2 satellites on board. That one is kind of one is a experimental small satellite for the military that's going to geostationary orbits. That one we kind of know a little bit about. That's not even the main. That's not the main payload. That's called what's it called? Tetra 1. So Tetra 1 is kind of the small satellite that's kind of just a test. It's like a developmental test for the military. That's like a very, very minor satellite that's on board here. That they have told us that exists. It's a little microsatellite. But the main payload is, I don't know. Nobody knows. It's something big for the military. And there might be others. There are at least 2. There could be others on board. There could be a whole bunch of microsatellites on board that we don't know about, and they won't tell us, and we'll never find out. And so that's it. Don't they have to submit the info on the mission to get FAA approval? They're public domain. Yeah, the National Reconnaissance Office kind of has a little bit of preferential treatment in that department, because yeah, they're gonna get like launch permits and say where they're going, but of course, you know, when it comes to national security payload stuff. They're very secretive about that, and you think that it might be public domain, but I don't think you could do a FOIA request and find out where our top secret satellites are in space. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's protected information and not public domain. So it's a typical Falcon Heavy mission because 2 sides will be recovered and center core will take a bath. Yeah, so R.A. Drum is making a joke because the center core has not had a great track record as far as recovery. So yeah, I guess it is a typical Falcon Heavy mission. At least this time we know ahead of time that the center core is not going to be recovered. Yeah, but it is a little atypical in the sense that it's going direct to geostationary orbit. We have not had that in the past, so that's kind of exciting for SpaceX that we're going direct to geostationary. All right, let's see. So we do have SpaceX is live. They're starting things up here. We'll switch over and listen with them in a minute while I update my timeline here. But yeah, it looks like things are good to go. Again, 10% chance of violating weather constraints, 90% go. The big weather constraint we were worried about was cumulus cloud rule, but we also have that morning fog today that we're hoping burns off in time for launch. I think it will. It's just meant to be, especially with the Lobster Nebula.
Lobster Fest is on.
I think we're good to go. So yeah, it's been when's the last Falcon Heavy launch? I think was 2019. So I think it's been a couple of years here. Let's listen in. Let's see what.
Live view of Falcon Heavy on historic launch pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, awaiting liftoff at 9:41 a.m. Eastern Time. Welcome to our live webcast of the USSF-44 mission from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Kate Tice, and I'm the Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX. And I'm excited to be here with you this morning, bringing you coverage of our first Falcon Heavy launch since 2019. Today's mission is a national security space launch for the United States Space Force and marks our 4th Falcon Heavy mission of all time and our 50th overall launch of 2022. When we first flew Falcon Heavy over 4 years ago, we sent Starman on a journey to space in a Tesla Roadster. After that demonstration mission in 2018, we launched 2 operational missions the following year with the Arabsat 6A and STP-2 payloads. Today's mission will be SpaceX's 3rd overall operational Falcon Heavy mission and our 2nd launching a U.S. government satellite, first being STP-2. USSF-44 will launch into a geosynchronous Earth orbit from Launch Complex 39A in Florida, which, as you can kind of see there through the fog on your screen.
A little bit foggy.
At our customer's request, we will not be showing views of the payload, so we'll be ending our webcast just after our Falcon 9 side boosters make their way back to land on LZ-1 and LZ-2, a little past the T+8 minute mark into flight. Now, as I mentioned before, it is a little foggy there at pad 39A. However, we promise that everything is still go for liftoff on time. The range and everything is still looking green. Everything's still looking good with our countdown as we approach the T-minus 13 minute mark. We have a 90% chance, 90% favorability in terms of our weather conditions. So even though it is a little foggy, we're still good to go. Now, if for some reason we don't get to launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time.
We have to
so
launch
we're now
today.
just under T-minus 13 minutes and counting. Let's take a closer look at the Falcon Heavy vehicle that will deliver the USSF-44 payload to its intended orbit. Falcon Heavy is essentially 3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together, meaning it can carry much larger payloads not only to Earth orbit, but to the Moon and Mars as well. Like the Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy is a 2-stage launch vehicle. The big difference is that the Falcon Heavy first stage is comprised of 3 cores, and Falcon 9 only has 1. Falcon Heavy has 28 engines, making it the world's most powerful
internal power.
Their call out indicating that the spacecraft is now on internal power. So with the 28 engines, this makes Falcon Heavy the world's most powerful operational rocket by a factor of 2. Each of these cores has 9 M1D engines, making for a total of 27 engines across all 3 boosters, as you see there in that shot. The 28th engine is a Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage, and that's what will power the payload to its final targeted orbit. Altogether, the Merlin 1D engines at the base of Falcon Heavy produce 5 million pounds of thrust, equal to 18 747s at takeoff.
It's a cool picture.
In fact, the engines produce so much power that we don't even run them at full thrust all at once. We do that after liftoff. Now, after liftoff, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, those 2 side boosters will separate from the center core and come back to Earth for simultaneous landings at Landing Zone 1 and Landing Zone 2, which we have a beautiful view there on your screen.
Look at the difference in visibility.
If successfully recovered, the side boosters will be refurbished and used in a future national security space launch. Upon side booster separation, the center core will keep firing for about 90 seconds before shutting down its engines, then perform a standard stage separation from the second stage. We will not be attempting to land our center core today, as the mission requires more performance, meaning in order to get our payload where it needs to go for today's mission, the center core will burn the fuel that we would typically use for recovery. For those of you looking closely, even though it is a little foggy, that's why you don't see any landing legs or grid fins on the center core. We'll probably get a better view of that after liftoff. Now, moving up to the second stage, once the first stage and second stage separate, it will propel our payload to its intended orbit. At our customer's request, we will not be showing views of stage 2, so immediately after the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage fires up, we'll be directing all of our attention to the landing of our side boosters. Now, above the second stage...
Just as she's talking here, one thing I did want to point out, it is very foggy, but we have launched in fog before, right? It really depends on how thick it is, but given how clear it is down by the landing zone, not too far away, the fog may not be that big of a deal. They might be able to launch through the fog. It'd be a bit of a bummer because we're not going to get some of the amazing photos that we would normally get during launch, but we could still launch in the fog.
It's a national security space launch mission for the United States Space Force. Now let's learn a little bit more from our customer about the mission at hand.
Oh, might have to turn this down. Yeah, so they got music, so I'll have to turn this down. We'll just kind of keep an eye on this in the meantime. But yeah, I don't think they're probably not going to tell us very much information because this is a very top secret payload. We've got the Tetra 1 mission on board, which they might tell us about, but they're probably going to tell us that they do national security stuff and super top secret stuff to keep us all safe and make sure we can all communicate. And I'll just paraphrase what this whole thing is going to be about. So yeah, we could still potentially launch, even though it looks super foggy, right? Hard to see, but we've launched before in the fog, especially that happens very often out at Vandenberg. You get a lot of fog on the West Coast launches. They launched through the fog before. As long as it's not super thick, there's not electric fields activated in the area, it could still potentially go through the fog, right? There's no specific visibility requirement on a cargo launch here, so they could still launch today. We might be okay. I like this. Jamara Infotech says the U.S. Space Force has figured out a way to fog the entire area for maximum confidentiality. That's what it is. The fog is there to further obscure the activities today, so that we really can't see what's going on.
Space Lobster ate the T-Teb. That's the answer.
That's it. That's the answer. So, but yeah, they said everything is still green. We're go for launch. Vandenberg launches in the fog all the time, as Matt Culver says. William Pelnar, another super chat, says, "Let's go Falcon Heavy." Thank you, William. Thanks for the support there. And let's see. Yeah, 3 years ago was the last Falcon Heavy launch. So it has been a while. If this launches today, the landing of the side booster and core stage could be difficult to witness because of the fog. Well, actually, based on what we just saw with the camera view, the landing zones are not foggy, which is interesting because the landing zones, while they're playing this video here, the landing zones are just to the south, right? Here's our landing zones. Here's where we're launching. Very foggy here, not very foggy here. So we might actually get a great view of the landing, just not a great view of the actual launch itself. So yeah, we'll just we'll stand by. I mean, it sounds like we're in good shape, and we'll be going and launch is a go.
Lobster Fest is on.
What's today's trajectory looking like? Yeah, so we'll take a look at that here real quick while they're playing their promotional video here. So we're heading to the east. We're going to direct geostationary orbit. Means we're going to get to the east. We'll have our booster separation. They'll come back. They'll land at the landing zone here. So we got an RTLS landing. Get this little bit of a loop-de-doo here. Whoop, and back to the landing zone. Center core continues on, separates here. Center core is going to splash down in the ocean. Expendable, not recovered today. We get no center core back. Second stage continues on in a shroud of secrecy. So we're not really going to know what's happening with center core, or second stage rather. We are expecting we'll get another second stage burn over here, and then a long coast into geostationary orbit, and that will that'll happen without us knowing about it. So we're not even going to, not really going to see anything from the second stage. Who will the Space Force be defending? Yeah. Somebody going on into some conspiracy territory. I'm hoping that's just a joke, so I'm not gonna address that though.
Falcon Heavy uses two propellants, refined form of kerosene called RP1 or rocket.
Looks like the fog's getting worse.
And that's the fuel, and LOX or liquid oxygen for the oxidizer. An oxidizer is a type of chemical that a fuel requires.
Can't even see the top of it.
The liquid oxygen is chilled below its boiling point so that it has a much greater amount of mass per volume. Basically, we can load more of it into the rocket. Our fuel is RP1, essentially a purified kerosene. It is safe, easily available, and has a lot of history. As a fun fact, the Saturn V first stage flown from this very pad for moon missions also used liquid oxygen and kerosene.
Falcon Heavy tanks are pressing for strong back retract.
And then we just heard the call out. We are preparing for that strong back retraction. Now, in addition to the two propellants I mentioned, we also use the chemical TTEB, or triethyl aluminum and triethyl borane, as an ignition source. The combustion of RP1 and LOX is what makes the rocket go up, and it's the TTEB that basically sets the match for that propellant mix.
Strong back lower has begun.
And we can see
we activated the strobe lights.
That we will begin to see that strong back begin to retract away from the fairing. In preparation for that retraction, the clamp arms around the second stage opened, and that allows the strong back to recline away from the vehicle.
It's kind of
As I mentioned
creepy
earlier,
looking.
this is our first Falcon Heavy flight in 3 years, and a lot will happen in the first 4 minutes of flight. First, we will light the two side boosters, followed by the center core. Then, about 40 seconds after liftoff, we will decrease power on the two side boosters in preparation for max Q, after which Falcon Heavy will then throttle back.
NY LOX load is complete.
So there we heard the call out that one of these side boosters is now complete with its LOX load,
strong
fully loaded
back
with all of its propellants. Then it looks like we can see that strong back retraction happening now.
PY LOX load is complete.
We are now fully loaded with LOX on the other side booster. So 2 minutes into flight, we will again reduce thrust on the two side boosters, this time to decrease forces on the rocket structure overall. The vehicle at that point in time will be much lighter, but the thrust remains constant. At 2.5 minutes into flight, we fully turn off the side boosters with the booster engine cutoff, or BECO. This pneumatic
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there we heard the call out, stage 1 LOX load is complete. So at this point in time, both side boosters and the center core are now fully loaded with its liquid oxygen and RP1. Once clear of the side boosters, the center core will throttle up to full power and until the center core shuts down with main engine cutoff, or MECO, and then separate from the second stage around the 4-minute mark. From that point on, very similar to Falcon 9 mission, side boosters will be making their way back to Earth for recovery. The fairing will separate, and the second stage will take the USSF-44 payload out into space. Just as a quick reminder, at the request of our customer, we won't be showing views of the payload, so we'll be ending the webcast just after our side boosters make their way back to land at LZ1 and LZ2, and that will be a little after the T+8 minute mark into flight.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
So there we heard the call out, stage 2 LOX load is complete. So at this point in time, Falcon Heavy is now fully loaded with all of its propellants.
Here we go. You
As
got,
as I've mentioned before,
you got mission control on the left there in Hawthorne and launch control at Kennedy Space Center on the right there.
so our team is going to be conservative in case anything pops up in the last minutes of the countdown.
God, the fog is definitely getting worse.
In addition to the fog around the launch pad, we can see some of the white clouds there around the vehicle. Totally normal. That's just the liquid oxygen basically
Ground gas closeouts.
vaporizing as it comes into contact with the ambient air. Now that those closeouts are complete, as we just heard that call out, we should see more of that.
Yeah, so that ground gas closeout, that's the last big vent. They vent all the lines that are in the transport erector. So usually we see a big vent of liquid oxygen that kind of just going to add to the fogginess here and completely obscure the rocket. That's kind of a cool view. We don't normally see this view.
Falcon Heavy is in startup.
There we go.
All right, at this point in time, Falcon Heavy's onboard flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Great view of the base of Falcon Heavy there.
All right, we're going to turn up the volume here. Go for launch.
MD, LD, go for launch.
Yeah, all right, we're going.
LD, this is the MD. The MD is go for launch.
Yes.
There we heard the final
launch control. This is Space Lobster Nation. We're go for launch.
Lobster Fest is on.
final count as Falcon Heavy gets ready to go to space once again.
Give me a go, no go in chat, quick.
T-minus 15 seconds and counting.
Here we go.
Lobster Fest is on.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
There we go.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
I love Falcon Heavy.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Pounds of thrust. Headed to space. They've throttled down in preparation for max Q, moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
Falcon Heavy is supersonic.
There we just heard the call out that the vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. What a beautiful sight.
Max Q.
All right, there we just heard the call out. That is the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket. M1D engines throttling back up. A beautiful sight to see Falcon Heavy flying once again. Shortly we'll hear the call out for MVAC chill, indicating that the second stage is prepping the MVAC engine.
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
We will flow a little bit of the super chilled liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps on that MVAC in preparation for the full flow of the super chilled propellant. Shots there of each side booster on the right-hand side of your screen. Next event will be booster engine cutoff, or BECO. That'll be followed by stage separation of side boosters, side booster boost back burn, center core main engine cutoff.
We're about 10 seconds away from BECO. That's the booster engines.
We're about 10 seconds away from the booster separation.
This should be BECO right here.
Side core shutdown. Booster separation confirmed.
There we go.
There you can see and heard it by the incredible excitement within the crowd behind me. Successful separation of the side boosters. There we can see 3 engines on each side booster have relit for their boost back burn. At this point in time, both side boosters are returning.
All vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Good news there, both side boosters and the center core, everything looking good. Side boosters are returning to the coast of Florida, now under the power of 3 engines. That's a view there of the center core. Coming up, 3 events happening in rapid succession. We'll have the conclusion of the side booster boost back burn, followed by main engine cutoff, as well as stage separation of that center core.
So
As a reminder, per request of our customer, we won't be showing second stage views after second engine start 1. Additionally, our center core, or stage 1, the one you see there, is expendable today, so we are not recovering this booster.
So this is the center core right here. You can see the speed going up pretty quickly. Altitude now is kind of staying relatively stable, going up just a touch, not quite as fast.
Boost back burn shutdown.
Looks like they are going to show
Stage
separation.
separation confirmed.
There you go.
There you heard the call out and saw on your screen we had side boost back burn conclusion, as well as the main engine cutoff and separation for that center core, and we heard call out of second engine start 1. At this point in time, with that call out,
Separation confirmed.
we will wrap our coverage pertaining to the second stage, keeping our focus on the
All
side
vehicles
boosters,
continue to follow nominal trajectories.
which you see there. Unfortunately, it looks like
Those cameras.
the cameras on those side boosters are a little fogged over.
Can't see
We
anything.
heard confirmation of successful fairing separation. While second stage continues on its journey, the fairing halves will fall back to Earth, where we will attempt to recover them using our recovery vessel, Doug.
Doug.
As a reminder, today we'll be attempting to recover the 2 Falcon Heavy side boosters on land. You can sort of make out some cloud coverage there in the background camera. We'll bring that back to you whenever we're able. Now, in just a few minutes, the side boosters will execute an entry burn followed by a landing burn. Both burns are meant to slow the side boosters down rapidly before landing. At the time of separation, the side boosters were traveling slow enough to turn around and make their way back to land at our side-by-side landing pads. If we have successful landings today, it will mark the 150th and 151st successful landing of an orbital class rocket.
That's
As I
crazy.
mentioned earlier, center core is going to be expended, and we are not attempting to recover it. This allows us to utilize
All vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
allows us to utilize all the propellant on board and deliver peak performance for the payload delivery.
About 30 seconds away from that booster entry burn here now.
On the left-hand side of your screen is a live view of Hawthorne Mission Control here at SpaceX headquarters. We're about 30 seconds away from the entry burn for the 2 side boosters. There on the top and bottom of the right-hand side of your screen.
I wonder if that'll, if those cameras will clear up as it gets into the atmosphere here. We can get some, see if we can get that to clear up a bit. I don't know if it'll clear though. Can't really see anything.
Standing by for side booster entry burn.
Booster entry burns have started.
There's our entry burn. There we go. You can see it right there.
There we heard the call out that the booster entry burn has begun.
Booster entry burn shutdown.
Whoa.
Looks like the ice on those cameras are now clearing.
GY and NY-FTS have safed.
Yeah, all right. Oh, you could see the
All vehicles
exhaust
continue
plume.
to follow nominal trajectories.
I don't know if you saw it, but you could see the exhaust plume of the other booster.
So that
in the
re-entry
top
burn
camera.
has concluded. We're expecting the landing burn to begin in about 30 seconds. The entry burn intended to slow the vehicles down significantly as they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere.
Look at that. That looks so weird.
Amazing
Looks like it's just
tracking
floating.
cam views of the boosters as they return to landing zone 1 and 2.
What happened?
We can see the grid fins there.
Both side boosters transonic.
Transonic coming up.
Stage 2 FTS is saved. Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We can see those grid
It's
fins
coming in
steering the
fast.
boosters for a precise landing. Again,
fast
we're
it's
attempting
Cruiser
landing.
burn.
Oh, you
Landing
can see
zone
the other
1
booster,
and
too.
2.
Look at the top camera. You see the other booster.
There we just heard sonic booms. And there you have it. As indicated by the enormous cheers, we have successfully landed both Falcon Heavy side boosters at landing zone 1 and landing zone 2. What an incredible sight.
Nominal parking orbit.
With these two side boosters, this marks the 150th and 151st overall successful landing of an orbital class rocket. This is the 21st landing at landing zone 1 and the 4th landing at landing zone 2.
That is pretty awesome. We might have to watch that again.
And with
That was
successful
cool.
confirmation of our side boosters landing, that will bring today's webcast to a close. We'd like to thank the United States Space Force for entrusting us with today's mission. Thank you to the Range and FAA for licensing today's launch. And we'd like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in for an exciting morning. Now, if you're interested, head over to our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. Hope to see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
There you go. All right, so we're gonna have to replay that a little bit. But before we replay it, just as we expected, no continued launch coverage. We're not gonna see the second stage cut off. Not gonna see deployment at all. Deployment's actually not gonna be for like another 6 hours anyway, so we're not gonna stick around for that, anyways. But we do want to see. We're gonna have to replay that and see what's. See that again. Those cameras on the way down were pretty awesome. So I want to go back to right about where the cameras on the boosters started to clear up here. Let's see, where should I put myself? I'll put myself here maybe. Let's put our replay text on here. Let's watch that again because that was pretty cool. There were so many things to see as that was happening. Let's see, get rid of that. Here, move me over just a touch more. Oh wait, here, already you can see, I don't know where to put myself. Already you can see in the bottom left corner there, you see the two booster engines. All right, let me go over here. Then we start to see, you can see right here next to my head, you can see the other exhaust plume. And then the camera's on the booster. I don't know, for some reason, like when you get some cloud coverage like that, you could just tell the speed at which they're coming back. And it just gives you a sense of how fast they're coming screaming at the ground. I mean, this camera here looks like it's just floating. And then everybody was like, oh, because the camera got obscured. But then those cameras over there, like, as it approaches the ground, like, just look at the speed. It just looks like they're coming screaming in so fast, which, I mean, they are. So it should look like that. But with the clouds there, you can really see it. And that, oh, right there. There you go. So you can see, here's booster 1 right there. So that is this booster. So it's pretty cool. You can kind of see both boosters landing there. I gotta see it again. You can see it slow down. Like, look at that top picture there. It looks cool. Then we get the quad view, onboard view, plus the ground cams. There was so much to look at. I didn't know which camera to look at while they were landing. That's pretty cool. All right, back that up again. Do that again. Back. You can also see One of the things too to point out that a lot of people forget about too is you can see how they don't come over the top of the launch site. Let me keep my hand in the green screen. They don't come over the top of the launch site and then land straight down. They come at an angle like this, and the grid fins actually kind of push them towards the actual landing spot. And the reason for that is that if something goes wrong, they will land in the water. So you can see how right now it's over the water, and that if for some reason the grid fins were to fail and gravity wants to pull them down, they're gonna go into the water, right? Until you get to the very last minute when they get over land, right? They're still over water at this point, and we're just a few seconds away from landing. And now all of a sudden, here's our booster ignition, and now they're just starting to get over land here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that shot, those cameras on the right side there where you can see the other booster coming to land. Just looks so cool. And then they move it on me, so then it's the one that's right by my head. They go from there, and you can see it right by my head. That's cool. That's so awesome. Oh, and there you go. Moped Mike just said, was there a launch? I just heard 2 sonic booms and it woke me up. Forgot about that. You could hear the sonic booms on the launch itself here. Let's turn the volume back up and let's listen.
Nice landing. Again, we're attempting landing. Landing zone 1 and 2. There we just heard sonic booms. And there you have it. As indicated by the enormous cheers, we have successfully landed both Falcon Heavy side boosters at landing zone 1 and landing zone 2.
I love the...
FTS is safe.
I love those sonic
Stage 2 is in
booms.
terminal guidance.
One more time.
We can see those grid fins.
And actually, if you listen carefully, it's hard to hear on the broadcast, but there's actually 3, well, I guess there's 6 sonic booms, 3 for each booster. So it's actually ba 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 ba, and you're getting it's the, let's see, what is it? The engine bells, the landing legs, and the grid fins all creating separate tiny sonic booms. I mean, they're all pretty close together, but it's ba 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 ba, and you get
And steering the boosters for a precise landing. Again, we're attempting
Booster
landing. Landing zone 1 and 2. There we just heard sonic booms. And there you have it. As indicated by the enormous cheers, we have successfully landed both Falcon Heavy side boosters at landing zone 1 and landing zone 2. What an incredible sight.
that was pretty cool. That's probably one of the best landing videos that I've seen yet. All right, one more thing to replay. I just want to replay the actual launch itself because you could hear the rumbling, which was pretty cool. So I want to replay the actual launch itself, and back it up just a little bit. You'll hear the rumbling start at T-minus 6 seconds is when the engines actually ignite. So they ignite 6 seconds before liftoff.
T-minus 15 seconds of counting. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There's the rumble.
0. Liftoff. Vehicle is pitching downrange. Inward, the chamber pressure is nominal.
also, pause it for 1 second, but another interesting thing to note is you'll notice that the engine exhaust, the flame from the side boosters, is longer than the center core booster. That's because the center core booster is actually throttled down to preserve some of that fuel. So the side core boosters are at a higher throttle level than the center core booster during this initial phase here.
Pounds of thrust. Headed to space. We've throttled down in preparation for max Q, moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
Falcon Heavy is supersonic.
There we just heard the call out that the vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. What a beautiful sight.
Max Q.
All right, there we just heard the call out. That is the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket. M1D engines throttling back up. A beautiful sight to see Falcon Heavy flying once again. Shortly we'll hear the call out for MVAC chill, indicating that the second stage is prepping the MVAC engine.
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
We will flow a little bit of the super chilled liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps on that MVAC in preparation for the full flow of the super chilled propellant.
Fred wants to replay the clip when the side boosters separate. Yeah, we'll go all the way through up to side booster separation here.
Next event will be booster engine cutoff, or BECO. That'll be followed by stage separation of side boosters, side booster boost back burn, center core main engine cutoff. We are about 10 seconds away from the booster separation.
Side core shutdown. Booster separation confirmed.
And there you can
There you go. That's pretty cool too. You can see the cameras kind of flicker as they go through the exhaust plume of the center core. As the center core keeps going past, side cores stop, separate. Center core continues on, keeps firing its engine, doesn't stop the whole time, and then the boosters kind of do their boost back burn.
Good news there, both side boosters and the center core, everything looking good. Side boosters are returning to the coast of Florida, now under the power.
And this is the center core that we're looking at here now. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I like it. I wish they did some more Falcon Heavy launches more often. But Falcon Heavy is kind of a unique vehicle because it's a very small use case. I mean, it is useful like today, but yeah, there's not a lot of missions that need the power of Falcon Heavy. But it's still pretty cool to see. Shame they didn't wipe the camera lens earlier than they eventually did. Though, while the camera lenses don't have the ability to wipe themselves off. So they cleared themselves off as they got into the atmosphere. So yeah, that wasn't really SpaceX's doing. That was Mother Nature that kind of cleared them off. You can kind of see as the booster ignites, right? We don't really know. I'm not really sure what's on it, like whether it's water or ice or maybe a combination of both. But as that booster ignites and it's going through its own exhaust plume, right? Then you can kind of see, well, it does kind of look like it flashed over and cleared suddenly. Not sure why it cleared all of a sudden. Maybe when that thinking maybe one of those cold gas thrusters helped it clear off. I'm not sure. That is kind of weird that it just kind of clears. I'm looking at that bottom right camera. It just goes, you know, or maybe it just re-exposed itself, or the camera refocused and stopped trying to focus on the debris that was right in front of it. Because you do get a little bit of flash of light, right? So maybe as that cloud comes into view, the camera was like, oh, I'll focus away from, you know, not right in front of the lens anymore. I'll focus way out here.
Looks like the ice on those cameras are now clearing.
Yeah, Sebby Time Waster says it was a mouse rubbing its fur on the camera to clean it. Yeah, I mean, I think those cameras are pretty basic, right? They're not anything. I think, to me, it just looks like that the camera is has refocused itself as that cloud came into view. Because it doesn't really look like it cleared. It just looks like it, maybe the camera decided to pick a new object to focus on. Well, let's take it. But let's go through the landing. Now that we've gotten this far, we only got 30 seconds to landing now. We'll go all the way. We'll show the landing one more time, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll carry on about our day. This was pretty cool. One of the best landings, if not the best landing that I've seen yet. I mean, maybe the original Falcon Heavy was pretty awesome, but
Boosters transonic. Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Here we go.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We can see those grid fins steering the boosters for a precise landing. Again, we're attempting
Booster
landing. Landing zone 1 and 2. There we just heard sonic booms. And there you have it. As indicated by the enormous cheers, we have successfully landed both Falcon Heavy side boosters at landing zone 1 and landing zone 2. What an incredible
love
sight.
that. Such a cool sight. I love that. Well, that was a pretty amazing launch here today. I think that's where we're gonna end it, right there on the actual landing itself. That was pretty awesome. Let's see. Somebody asked, Mike Mason wants to know where is Falcon Heavy now? Is there a tracking site available? No, there is no tracking site available. Again, this is a highly, highly top secret mission. Not only is there no tracking available, they're not even going to tell us roughly the area that it's going to. So it is a very top secret. We don't even really know what's on board. We know one microsatellite that's on board, but the main payload is unknown. They're not going to tell us what it is. So a highly top secret mission for the United States Space Force. It's a National Reconnaissance Office payload, so it's a spy satellite, essentially, right? So they're not going to tell us about it. It's a secret. So anyways, all right, well, I guess that's where we're going to leave it and wrap it up there. This was a lot of fun to watch another Falcon Heavy mission. I wish they would do that a little bit more, and yeah, hopefully the next one is not 3 years from now. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for jumping on and joining us for a bit this morning to watch SpaceX launch their Falcon Heavy rocket. It was just meant to be because, as Justin Gibb pointed out earlier in the broadcast, today's NASA astronomy picture of the day is the Lobster Nebula.
Space Lobster ate the T-Teb. That's the answer.
That's the answer. So we had to have a launch today. It was just meant to be for us here at Space Lobster Nation.
Lobster Fest is on.
So, all right. Well, again, thanks for joining us. I'll let you get back to your day. I think we had some fun here today, and we'll do this again sometime real soon. I don't know if my little thing. There it goes. I couldn't get this to come up. There. All right, that's going to do it for me. Consider liking the video, subscribe to the channel, join our Discord. You can chat it up with other space-minded folks in our great Space Lobster community. My name's Tori, this is Overlook Horizon, and we'll see you again sometime real soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. See you later. Bye-bye.